So this way you'll have a copy of this.
Yes, we want.
So I want to welcome you both. And
Well,
to everyone here, thank you for joining us. I want to welcome Rainbow and Michael Wazowski. What a great name.
yeah.
And,
You know that famous story, right? We won't go into it now. You know
oh,
Monsters Inc.?
I don't know the famous story, but you can tell
Famous
us.
story, Monsters Inc. You don't know it?
No,
You know the movie Monsters Inc.?
no.
The cartoon?
The cartoon movie?
Oh,
Monsters?
yes.
I'm the real one.
Really?
You never heard the story?
He's really got one eye.
Oh,
No, I got more. I got two eyes, but there's a long story. We can't do it here.
the
But
blue guy.
I had written years ago on a website the whole story about Monsters Inc. before the movie even developed, and they used the whole kind of the script of what I wrote. So it's a crazy story. I ended up working for Disney for a while, and they found out who I was. It got really nuts and crazy, but it's really fun. It's been fun all these years. I get people constantly.
Oh, I love the Monsters Inc. The little blue guy.
Yeah.
The lovable blue guy.
Exactly. But anyways, it's a crazy long story. But you're talking to the original guy, the real Monsters Inc. Mike Wazowski.
Guys, listen to that.
The real alien.
Yeah, alien, for sure I am. So anyways, but we're not here to talk about Monsters Inc. We're here to talk about Sasquatch. So.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch tonight. And I want to give you a little background of Mike and Rainbow, which is a great name too, by the way. We have to have a rainbow.inc, whatever ink, too.
She's a monster. She's definitely a monster.
But they have been involved in paranormal research collectively for more than 60 years. And we're just so grateful to have you both here tonight. And Michael and Rainbow led the paranormal forum in Albuquerque. And I think some of you have heard me speak about this for 8 years. So we were fortunate here in New Mexico to have them, and they had so many phenomenal guest speakers, and it was really, really potent. I just feel very fortunate that we had you here. And Rainbow, let's see. Well, you'll talk about later your YouTube, the Truth Seeker Forum, and your new YouTube channel.
Dimensional walking, yes.
Yeah, we'll introduce all of that.
Sure.
And Rainbow herself is a medicine woman. She's an abductee, and we'll have to find out what that means. And she's been involved, a contributing writer to Paranormal Underground and Michael's TruthSeeker.com. So we welcome you with open arms and open hearts tonight, because we're so excited to have you here. And I'm glad that you're keeping everything open. I love that you've started your YouTube channel. I've subscribed to it, and I hope everybody here tonight will do the same, because we want to keep the doorway open. There's a lot of things happening. And finally, our own government created it's not STAR, the new, it's Space Force. Did you know the new air,
Sure.
Part of I think it's the Air Force, right? It's part of our military now, called Space Force.
Yeah.
And so, things are starting to percolate here. And so your work and keeping people informed about all these things that are starting to come alive. It's always been there, but to bring it to everybody's attention, we thank you for that. So I'm going to
thank you for having
the door for you to speak and share your knowledge about this infamous character called Sasquatch that has been seen all over the world.
It has. That is correct. So anyways, let me give you a little pre-Rainbow Sasquatch history of what I did before I met Rainbow. So probably when I was 17 years old, I was going to well, I had a friend named Tom, and Tom and I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we were going to go, once we were graduate, we were going to get in our cars and we are going to drive out to Washington in the Northwest. And we are going to find Sasquatch. That was our ambition in life at that point in time. Well, unfortunately, 2 weeks before that, my dear friend Tom died in a car accident.
Ah.
So that didn't happen. But what was really the positive thing out of all that was that I promised spiritually to Tom and to myself, basically, that I would continue on. And I would definitely go out, either find Sasquatch or be involved. And of course, with that, there was UFOs and everything paranormal. Basically, Rainbow and I have, throughout our lives, just been involved with the paranormal world. So anyways, at 17, I basically, went out and started. I read a lot. At the beginning, I was just reading. I was just getting every book I could, and I was just reading about paranormal things. And then I lived in Milwaukee. So then what I did years in my 20s is basically I went to northern Wisconsin, and I would, go out in the woods and feel the vibe and just see things out of the corner of my eye. I didn't really see any Sasquatch, but I could feel things. I was developing that sense. So I was able to feel those things. And then fast forward to the 1980s. So in the 1980s, I lived in Georgia. And at that point, a lot of the research I did was in the Appalachian Mountains. For 10 years, I kind of, on my weekends, my spare time, I would go in the Appalachian Mountains. And sometimes I was accompanying my sister, who was a doctor. We'd go out into all kinds of strange places, the Appalachian Mountains, and talk to people. So we recorded probably about 1,500 interviews, and most of those interviews were abduction interviews, alien abductions. But what would happen is I would ask them, because it seemed like a lot of people that were absolutely abducted also had gained abilities, like possibly seeing cryptids, and include that would be Sasquatch too. And so many of them did say they did. They would see something in the woods or this, that, and the other. So there was always seemed to be a connection, kind of a UFO, alien type connection. Abductees seem to have this magical ability. Okay. So that was my 1980-ish. I did it for about 10 years. I lived in Georgia, had a great time, did a lot of research. I could probably talk several sessions just on that whole abduction situation, but let's move on. We'll move on to Tucson, Arizona. So I moved to Tucson in the middle 90s, I believe it was, yes. And in Tucson, who I met was Kiwani Lapsaritis. Some of you will probably know who Kiwani is. I think he's probably the best. Some people agree, some people disagree, but I think he's terrific. And I've been on these, what I call mini expeditions with him, which we would go primarily in 3 states, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. And we do all kinds of camping and going out in the woods and feeling and touching things. And he would teach me, he was an herbalist, so he'd teach me all kinds of things about herbs. And he would teach me as many things he could about Sasquatch, because he'd been doing it for 40 years and, in the past, back then. And that was a while ago. He's a pretty old guy. But of course, he probably doesn't want to believe that. But anyways, so we would go out and we do these little mini expeditions. And again, there's a lot of stuff in it, and there's a lot of things. We'd be here for a long time if I told you everything. So I'm just going to hit you in a couple of the really good ones that I really enjoy and I wanted to tell you about. So this one time we were in Idaho and Montana. It was right on the border. And so he took me, he's a dowser, so he dowses. And he has an amazing ability to map dowse. Mm-hmm. And so we would go, he would take a map and we map dowse. And there was this place, and I'm not going to really give you the name because he's told me always to kind of keep it a little secret, only because he doesn't want a lot of people flocking there. It's one of the largest vortex areas in the United States, and it's an incredible place. It took us a while to find it. He had a map dowse a couple times, and we finally found it. In fact, one time I will tell you, this is so incredible. we went to the border of Idaho and Montana. It was a little road, a little mountain road. We stopped at that road, and he told me, he said, Mark, he didn't know exactly where we were going because he'd been there before, but he had forgotten. He said, just go ahead and watch your odometer. And when it hit 1.7 miles on this road, we're going to turn. This is what the map was telling him. We're going to turn and look to our left, and that would be the valley we were looking for.
Wow.
So we went 1.7 miles. I'll be damned if this wasn't the place that he called this magical valley in Montana. It was sort of like, to me, it was like Shangri-La, sort of. It was that cool. So in the middle of this little valley, there's this big vortex area. So we camped ourselves. When I say camped, we really didn't put our tent there, but we put ourselves in a chair, couple of chairs, couple lounge chairs, and just sat there. He says, just sit there, because when you're at the edge of a vortex, stuff comes and goes all the time. So that was our purpose. It was just to sit there and watch. And he had done this before at other places. And so anyway, so we sat, and I didn't tell you what the weather was. The weather totally sucked because this was the middle of the summer, and we were up about 7,000 feet. And it was like this hurricane of snow and rain and wind. It was just terrible. And we're sitting there all cuddled up in our chairs waiting for something to happen. Well, I sat there for about 15, 20 minutes and said, this is ridiculous. And I said, Kiwani, don't you remember when you told me that Sasquatch could micromanage the weather? And he says, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Okay. So he went away. He said, let me move on. He took his chair and he moved to a different spot and he started meditating and basically connecting with Sasquatch. And this is what was so amazing. Within about 10 minutes, the sky opened up, the sun came down, and it got real warm. We had to take off our jackets and we had to sit there. And it was like absolutely incredible. And around, it was like being in the eye of a hurricane. Because around you could see the clouds just circling around, and I'm sure it was raining and snowing over there, but where we were sitting was incredible, absolutely incredible. So we sat there, and you know, it was really some really good feelings. I can't say anything particular happened there. So then the next day we went out, we walked around, we found some footprints. We've had some really good feelings. We were putting out, they like peanut butter, so we put some peanut butter out, came back later and it was gone. So there were some really important feelings there. But one of the things that he said was Sasquatch did have the ability to control small areas of weather. And he in his book, and I'm going to give you both the names of the book before I forget the name of his 2 books that he wrote, that I think if you're really interested in the subject, these are the 2 books to read because they're incredible. And plus, I'm in one of them. So you should definitely read it there because I'm in one of them. Anyways, the 2 names of the books. One is Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection. That's one of his books. And the other book is Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection.
So could you say them again?
Okay.
Sasquatch
People
and
Their Interdimensional Connection. Okay.
Okay.
And the other one is Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection.
Oh, that's interesting.
And his name again is Kiwani Lapsaritis.
Can you spell that?
Oh, great, thanks. K-E-W.
K-A-U.
I'm sorry,
K-A-U-N-E-E.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's K-E-W-A-U-N-E-E.
Spell it, she's got it
Lapsaritis.
right there. I never spelled the last name.
L-A-P-S-E-R-I-T-I-S.
Okay.
Lapsaritis.
You want it one more time?
Yes.
Okay. K-E-W-A-U-N-E-E, and then lapsaritis. L-A-P-S-E-R-I-T-I-S.
Okay. Wow.
And he was a medicine man, and he got his name from the Apaches. He worked with the Apaches for many years. So anyways, okay, moving on.
Hey, babe,
Go ahead.
tell them about when you got touched.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rainbow.
By yourself?
She blew it. That was going to be. No, I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss it. Okay. So anyways, on another expedition, this time we were in Eastern Washington State, and we were just on the edge of a Indian reservation, okay? And we were in a national forest, and so we were in the tent, and we were kind of. Let me see. Oh yeah, we were laying there. We were about ready to go to sleep, and everything went silent. I'm sure that many of your listeners have been to a place in the woods or otherwise where everything goes completely silent. There's
Be quiet.
I always call it, I've written about it many times, it's called godlike to me. It's like in a place that is beyond anything. It's a bit scary, but it's a bit unbelievable because there's that silence is so amazing, okay? So anyways, it went into one of these deals. Now, when I did a lot of my abduction interviews, a lot of people would say that before they would be abducted, everything would go silent also. That just happened to be the same thing. So I thought something like that was going to happen, but it didn't. So we were sitting there, and for the longest, and both of us acknowledged that everything went silent. So it was two of us, not just one person, it was two of us. And all of a sudden, we were in the tent now. All of a sudden, there was all this hooting and hollering and carrying on. And there was Sasquatch everywhere. So they were all around the tent. Now, Kiwani said, don't go out. Let's not confront them. All they're here is to let us know that they're here and they know we're here. So that was incredible. Every few hairs I have in my head, and every few hairs in my back, and everywhere I got hair stood up completely.
He has a lot of hair in his back.
Okay. Anyways, the whole deal was, it was incredible, but it was, I guess, startling to hear this because it was so loud and deafening, and it definitely wasn't humans because we were in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't.
What does it sound like a little bit? Can you?
Nah, I really can't. I tried before.
It
was hooting. It was like a hooting sound and hollering. It was. I don't think they were trying to scare us. They were just. He just said they're just trying to let us know, and he's heard it before. He had heard it before.
Wow.
So otherwise, I think, we would have been, if he didn't calm me down, I would have probably didn't know what to do. But I knew it.
Imagine if he was there by himself.
So they moved around. You could hear them moving because it was very heavy. It was a heavy pounding on the ground. It was like, you could almost feel like the ground was bouncing in the tent.
Wow.
Anyways, so that's what happened the second night. I think the first night was fine. Second night, that happened. So the third night came, and we were there for quite a while, but the third night came, and we're laying in the tent again, and Kiwani's around on the other side, and I'm on this side, and I just can't really get to sleep because probably I was still thinking about the night before. And so Kiwani's snoring over there, okay? So I know where he is all the time, he wasn't, I just want to make sure he was over there. And so I'm over in this side, and I'm just sitting there, and nothing's really happening. There's no weird sound outside. It just seems normal with the bugs and everybody, the frogs chirping and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm laying there, and through the tent, Sasquatch puts his hand through the tent and on my arm. Now, let me tell you this. I could feel the weight, and I could see the size of it. It was a huge hand, and it was a huge size. It was no human hand, I can tell you that. And there's no way he could get through the tent. This is right through the tent now. I'm not talking about under the tent. He went through the tent. He was able to pass through the tent, okay? Dimensional. They're dimensional creatures.
Yes,
okay?
I know that, yeah.
Internet is unstable. But anyways, he went right through the tent, and he put his hand in it. But I didn't tell you the moon was full. And there was enough light coming in through the tent where I could see, by looking a little bit to the side, I could see this huge hand on mine, and it just stayed there for a while. It seemed like forever, but it wasn't.
You didn't want to move.
No, I didn't want to move. I was just really, honestly, to a certain extent, I was just enjoying the moment. I really was. I really wasn't afraid at all. It was not like the night when you were hollering, hooting. This was just a quiet push on my shoulder, a gentle push, but it was very weighty. It was very weighty. So anyways, that happened, and it pulled his hand back out, or he or she, it could have been she, I don't know. And that was it. So I quickly after that just went to sleep, quietly went to sleep. So that was great. So in the morning, I didn't say anything at first to Kiwani. So we were driving down the hill to go to a little town and eat breakfast. And I said, Kiwani, something happened last night. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty wild. He said, don't tell me. I said, okay, well, why don't you want me to tell you? No, I'm going to tell you what happened. Something happened because I asked them to come and make their presence known to you. Because I had been with them many times and I'd never had a direct contact with Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. I'd seen things, I'd felt things, but never where it was a direct contact at all. So he said he's a communicator, he communicates with them. And he said he just wanted them that somehow to do this to me so that, I know they were real or had a good feeling. So that was it. That was my contact with my direct contact where one touched me. So it was incredible. I have to admit, it was an incredible experience. So anyways, so let's see what else we got. Anyways, let's
Did that
go.
change you in some way? Did you
What's that?
feel it? Did you experience a shift in yourself in some way after that experience?
Well, I mean, it's something I didn't. Well, I mean, once here's the interesting thing is once you have had that direct contact or that connection with them, it's like all you want to do is connect with them. You know what I'm saying? You're right. There probably was a change. I really didn't care anymore to see a footprint.
Oh,
I really didn't want to see that. It's sort of like when aliens and UFOs exist. I don't care to look up in the sky and see them. I know they exist.
Exactly.
So I think once they touched me, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
That
I
was
mean,
the
yes.
confirmation. Yeah.
Right. And I don't have to go running around the woods looking to cast footprints and all that. I just don't do that anymore. I just want to Rainbow and I go out and we want to make contact. And that's what we do. We try to go out and we try to make contact either by us just walking through the woods and them just following us or whatever, but some type of way they contact us is what we try to do. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. Right. So with that said, let's go ahead and Rainbow, you want to talk about the next thing on our list here that we were going to go over, which is.
Well, Michael and I had our interaction with Sasquatch probably about within the first year of me knowing Michael, which was probably, well, I met him in 2013. So it wasn't very long after that Sasquatch made themselves known. Now, before Michael, I think I had contact with Dogman up in the Taos, New Mexico area. And so cryptids were something familiar to me, but I wasn't as interested in Sasquatch, not because I didn't think they were phenomenal, amazing beings. It's just that, practicing and living up as a medicine woman in Taos, I was in the mountains anyway, so I saw a lot of strange and unusual things. So it wasn't anything crazy, and it was actually more natural to know they're there than unnatural. But Michael had brought me out to Oregon to see his family. And that first trip out, this Sasquatch, an Oregonian Sasquatch, saw me up in the area over by Cannon Beach, over in the rainforest on the coastal area. And he knew I was empathic, and he said he wanted to get in contact with me. I didn't think anything at the time. I didn't sense him. I didn't feel him. And that's what's really interesting about Sasquatch is they're very observant. They actually do choose the people they intend to communicate with. And I was oblivious. I didn't know. I was enjoying the scenery. He made contact with me when I came back to New Mexico. And I actually happened to be in the shower, and it's a little uncomfortable. But I was taking a shower and I heard loud noises, almost like explosions were happening. So I turned the water off and I thought there was a crash outside, and it was all quiet. And then I turned the water back on, and then it was loud bangs and bombs going. I mean, it was really loud, and water is a conduit. So he was coming through because of the shower, and he, in his voice, he said hello, and he said his name was Loki, and he spelled out his name for me, Loekey. And I thought, I turned the water off, and I thought, I'm hearing things. And I thought maybe I had the radio on because I had soft music going, and nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? I turned the shower back on, and Loki says hello again. And I'm like, oh my God. And he told me he was a Sasquatch. And I'm thinking, I'm naked in the shower. And I'm like, well, nice to meet you. I'm going to get out of the shower now. So I put my towel on, and I'm like, oh my God. And that's the beginning of me talking with Loki. And then, of course, I had to call Michael up, and I said, oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me in the shower. And according to Kiwani and Michael, they, that's a popular area that they like to meet people,
well, right.
and they don't look at us as being naked as anything sexual. It's just, they don't care. It's not, I don't think
Just
it was
a human.
to her. So it was just happened to be an easier way for him to get in contact with me. And what was interesting is those loud noises came with his voice. I can't even explain what those were, but that was my first contact with Loki. And so that was very unique and special. And then after that is when it was a lot of just interaction with him. And he'd wake me up at 2 a.m. because he'd have something very important to say, and it was exhausting after a while of, just kind of, I'd actually wake up and it would be like a typewriter going off in my head with him starting a conversation with me. And that's one thing I found interesting about Sasquatch, is that they don't have the same sense of time like we do, because we live in the present all the time, but they live in the past, present, and future. And so for him, he was already starting a dialogue, and I'd have to wake up to kind of understand and get it, and then I have to write it down in the present moment for me. But he was already starting off communicating with me at various times throughout months. And he had a lot of information that he gave me. Unfortunately, I couldn't function that way. It's exhausting when they wake you up at night, or we'd be in the car, or I'd be driving, and he'd go in his voice, because he had a very masculine kind of unusual voice, like it's very deep. And he would say to me, oh, I have something to tell you, and I'd have to pull over in the car, and then I'd have to write it down, and it just got a little exhausting after a while. But that was my first experience with Loki, knowing Michael. And I think that Loki came to me because of Michael, actually.
You give me.
Well,
you think that maybe they had a way of bringing you two together?
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, I have a feeling.
Well, not only Sasquatch, but aliens do the same thing.
Yeah,
bring people together. They really do. They drive people together, and sometimes they drive people apart, because we can tell you other stories.
Oh, yes. Yes.
They can drive people apart when they want to. So you have to be really careful when you're dealing with these entities.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah. And I think that when you're a Sasquatch friend, that you're a Sasquatch friend for life.
For life.
And that they're already comfortable with Michael, and they knew I was empathic, and they thought, okay, well, these two together, we can kind of do some stuff with them.
And look at tonight.
Yeah. So that was the start of our Sasquatch.
Do you have the picture of Loki?
Yes.
Want to send that? Put that up. This is something Rainbow drew.
Yes. I will do it. I will do a screen share. Very cool. Okay, hold on. I have to put that up first, and then I just love it. Okay.
Yeah, Rainbow's very good at drawing these entities that she has contact with, and she's had many alien ones too that are really amazing.
Yeah, we've had quite a few since we've been together.
Right.
Can you see that?
Yeah,
There he
we
is.
can. Yeah, there he is.
There's Loki.
Yeah,
Hi, Loki.
he's a very interesting guy for sure.
Loki is about 8 feet tall. He's kind of short for a Sasquatch. That's kind of what he told me. And Loki is a portal jumper. So he's one of those Sasquatch that can go to different locations all over. He said that his group actually are their history takers, or they gather information all about the earth, and they're the record keepers.
Mhm.
He said that he told me all about portals. There's different types. There's the natural portals, artificial portals, and then he said the traveling ghost. And he explained to me what all three were, because that's what he does. He actually showed me in my mind's eye what it's like to jump into the portals and how they look. He explained to me that the portals, the natural ones, are so important on this planet because they help the earth rotate. Because they're basically the portals. Once you jump in them, they're upside down pyramids, and they spin. And that spinning actually happens certain periods throughout the day, and it helps the earth rotate. So he kind of told me a lot of stuff in detail, and it was very interesting.
Good. So we want to talk about a little experience with the dolphin.
Yes.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
one? How about this one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Tulak.
Leave
Yeah.
that one up, and we'll tell you the story of Tulak, which is actually in New Mexico. So
This is the Sandia Mountains.
right, Sandia Mountains.
Right in Albuquerque.
Yes.
In Albuquerque, outside of Albuquerque, where we used to live. And should I start it off?
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, what happened there is we were going up the backside of Sandia Mountain, and I really don't remember what that little trailhead was called. Would you remember what it's called?
No, but it goes directly to the tram.
Right. It's up there by the tram. In fact, you go past that one ski. People that know where I'm talking about. You drive up the mountain in the back. You go past the kind of the entrance, the lower part of the ski resort, and then you go a little farther. In between there and the top, there is several trailheads off. Anyways, we took the one on the left. It isn't that important at this point. So we were parking the car, and Rainbow likes to jump out before I get the car parked. She's off down.
And I had a cast on my arm too.
Oh my gosh.
So she jumps out. The car's still rolling, not quite really. But anyways, before I could get it parked properly, because I always want, especially on these hills and stuff, you want to make sure your car doesn't roll away on you. So anyway, she got out and she started walking towards the trailhead. And I get out of the car and I look, and here's this huge bear. This huge bear is right there. And I'm hollering at a Rainbow, look out.
There's a bear.
So she
I'm on rocks, and I had actually was teeter-tottering on these rocks, and Michael's already freaked out because I have a cast on my arm. And he's like, Rainbow, be careful. Rainbow, watch out for the bear. And I'm like, what bear? And so, because I'm teeter-tottering, I scared the bear.
Right.
So I see it turn on its haunches, and it's a
big mother
bear.
It looked like a big mother bear.
It goes left.
Right.
And I said, oh my God, that's a huge bear. And then all of a sudden, I see this huge other person. And I'm thinking that person just came from where the bear was.
Right.
And
going the other way now.
Going to the right. And I said to Michael, I said, oh my God, that's an unusual hiker. I said, and it was like, almost kind of like a one of those little kid stories. Oh my God, what big, backpack I didn't know what it was, but it was a backpack. And I'm like,
right, yeah.
Why? And I'm saying to Michael, why the hell would that, excuse my French, I'm sorry. Why the heck would that backpacker put that backpack on like that? That would make your back hurt. And then he was hunched over.
Right.
And then I said, oh my, what big steps you're taking. And then it was just like, did you see the size of the steps he's taking? And it's booking it away from us because he was kind of irritated. I think when we were going for a hike, it was during some holiday. So there were a lot of people around. And so I said, well, we should go see what that is. And so when we went to the top of this dirt pathway,
Right.
we both got hit with this energy that said, stop. It was in your gut. It was like, it was a horrible, like you're going to throw up.
Right.
And Michael said, Rainbow, we can't go any further. And I'm like, and we didn't see Tulak. He had stopped right by the tree that you see him at. And if you see where Tulak is standing, there's a tree in the foreground with a blue line across it. So
I don't know if you can see the blue
Oh, yes,
line.
I can see it.
On the very top.
Right
Yeah.
up there. Yeah.
It's right up there. So Tulak, though that tree in the foreground was rather big. And where the blue line.
There's another blue line, I think, on the other one
and then
where
there's
he is.
another one there.
Right.
So they have these blue lines on, I think, where they're going to cut the trees or do whatever. But we didn't really know how tall or big he was until we went back a second time and we gauged the blue line to where his head was.
It's about 8 foot,
But
I think, wasn't it?
we didn't even know. We took a picture of Loki until
Yeah.
we got back into the car. I mean, not Loki, Tulak, until we got into the car. And he basically said, don't come near me. I don't want any humans around me. Just stay away. And, and so we honored that. We didn't go.
And so you understand what we did is when we were up on this hill looking down, we could not really per se see him. So what I do is through my Vortex photography that I do, I will go ahead and just take random shots.
Okay, but I took these shots.
Oh, Rainbow took these shots, these random shots.
I took these shots because I knew there was somebody down there. Sorry to bust your bubble, but I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's true. I'm sorry. But anyway, so he does get amazing photos, I have to say. But this Tulak came to me, and he actually gave me his name, Tulak. He told me who he was as we're in the car going home after taking the photos, because I took 3. I said, oh my God, Michael, I think I got something here. And Michael pulled over and we looked, and there he was.
Right.
Yeah. And so when we went back, when we measured, because you always have to go back to make sure that that's not like a tree,
Anything, right? Yeah, you
trunk
go there.
or whatever.
Right.
So we went back, nothing was there, and we looked at the blue line, and that blue line was about 8 feet to 9 feet high.
Right.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
up. It was up there. In fact, it was. We stood by it. I'm not quite. I'm 5'7" or 8, and it was several feet above me. So that's what we asked, and we didn't take a tape measure, but it was close to 8 feet for sure. So, anyways, so that was that. That was our and the reason we brought Tulak into it is that Sasquatch and Dogmen do work together a lot. They seem to they work together, and they're fairly friendly.
And they do hang out with other animals. I mean, I think that people have this idea that Sasquatch and Dogman and other cryptids, they're always busy eating and doing all this stuff and hunting, and yeah, they do. But Tulak was hanging out with that bear, and they have friendships with other groups of animals in the forest. And even though Tulak and Loki are cryptids and they're like different beings, they are sentient. They are caretakers of these animals, and they know. They have friendships with them. And so that's one thing that Tulak told me, is that if you see bears, you'll probably, very close by them will see Dogman.
Yeah, and also just feeding off of that a little bit is that Sasquatch uses other animals and communicates with them, like birds. They're real famous for using birds to watch the forest. So they'll have a bird, a hawk, or whatever kind of bird they're using, and they will communicate with that bird, and he'll be kind of like the drone watching over the forest.
Yeah.
And if something strange comes up, they will communicate to each other.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible. It really is. So next, we're going to shift over to Oregon again. And what we're going to do is Rainbow's going to kind of start a conversation about, there's a state park close by where we, for a long time, would frequent, and we still do. And we go to the state park, and Rainbow will tell you the rest of the story about another Sasquatch contact we had.
Yeah, a female Sasquatch, her name is Worja, came in contact with me about 3 years ago. And she is a different type of Sasquatch than Loki because she's earthbound. They're not portal jumpers. There's different types of Sasquatch, but she has a summer camp in the area where we were located, and then in a winter camp. Well, actually, it was during the winter when I first was in contact with her. So she was down in her winter camp, and then they go higher up in Hood Mountain, or
Mount Hood.
They go higher up during the summertime because it can get pretty warm down here. But anyway, we got in contact with her, and it was really wonderful how we got in contact with her.
Really.
We would give her.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I thought you were going to tell them about we were having an argument.
Yeah.
No, tell her that.
Tell them.
No, really.
It's really going to tell them that part.
No, but I think it was
okay. So we had gotten into a little
bad argument. It was a fairly bad argument, and she was really mad at me. Let's just face it. So we're walking, and she's. No, go ahead. Tell the rest. No, because it's important. It's important.
I know. This is so funny. Anyways, so of course, being a female, I'm very quiet, and I'm punishing Michael by not talking to him because that's what we do, right? When we're mad, or at least I'm just teasing. I don't know what women do, but anyways, that's what I do. So I hear a female voice. And it was raining that day too while we were going on our hike, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is how I feel. I'm like being all, drama.
I'm not saying anything.
And she was saying, well, and I heard a female voice saying, what is wrong? And I'm like, and I remember Michael was wondering what I was doing because I was like going like this, and because I heard a voice. And then she said, why are you sad? And again, I'm like, who is this? And then she told me her name, and she said, Worja. I am Worja. And I'm like, oh. And I told Michael, I said, I just got the name Worja. And Michael said, do you think it's a Sasquatch? I said, yes, there's a female Sasquatch, Worja. And so at that point, I was talking to Michael again. And so she was starting to talk to me, and she said, she wanted to be friends. Said, hello, just are you a sad human? What's wrong? And so it was very interesting. And so Michael and I decided that since she initiated the contact, that we would come back. And so what we like to do when we go out and do our research is we'll take apples, we'll take nuts, and we take chocolate. And so we gave chocolate to, when we went back, we brought apples and chocolate for Worja. And so Worja came to me the next time we came out, and she, in my mind, she said, put the apple and the chocolate in the tree trunk with a hole in it. So
well, we didn't really know where that was.
I'm like going, well, oh my God. And so
you're in a forest.
Yeah, it was a forest.
So what happened was there was a tree trunk that had rotted out that had a hole in it. And as I walked by it, she said, there. And so we turned and looked, and lo and behold, there is the rotted out tree trunk with a hole in it. Right. And so what I did, and I think more than anything, this was what was so amazing for me, is this one time when we brought chocolate. I had it in a gallon baggie, or a little baggie, and I opened it up and I closed it, and I showed her how to get the chocolate out. And then we put the apple in there, and we would try to hide stuff so that if anybody walked by this area, they wouldn't see it. So we're off walking on our hike for about a half an hour when Michael turns to me and he said, Rainbow, she took the chocolate. I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, I am sure. She's got it. So we went back. Here's what's so amazing is that when we looked in the trunk, the apple was gone, the chocolate was gone, but the plastic baggie was folded exactly the way I had it.
And the chocolate thing was inside,
And it was gone.
It was the chocolate was gone, but the stuff was inside. It was all folded and sealed.
Yes.
So we know what wasn't sealed. Always the trick when you put food out is you get little animals. Little
yeah, other kinds of animals.
Take it. But they usually make a mess. They're messy. They're very messy. So this time we were pretty confident that she did take it. Because other times you're not sure.
Yeah. I don't think any other animal is going to take a plastic baggie, open it up, and then
eat the chocolate
and
fold it, and fold it back up and put it in. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And let me just assure everybody, because they're all going to say, "Oh, well, maybe a human saw you, and they, what would they really know what we were doing?" But we are very careful. We watch. We wait, and we make absolutely sure that there's nobody anywhere, so nobody could see us while we did this. And we have done this several times, and we've gotten some really great results, but not always. Sometimes we do admit to ourselves it was a squirrel or it was a raccoon or something else.
Little bites taken out.
Little bites and chunks like that. So we know that wasn't Sasquatch. But the times we got some positive hits, there was no way in our minds. And the same thing I used to do up in Sandia Mountain. Sandia Mountain has a lot of Sasquatch up there, just so everybody knows. If you want to go Sasquatch, go to Sandia Mountain because they're up there. We used to hang it from the trees. We used to hang because the deer would also get it. That's another problem. If you get a lot of deer, they will eat. They smell it and they'll eat.
Yes.
We used to hang it. If you hang it out down, and then you know that it's probably not going to be a deer. It wasn't. The only thing that could reach it was a Sasquatch. So I had some similar things happen on Sandia Mountain years ago, the same type of thing. So anyways, so go ahead.
So so we gave her a lot of chocolate and apples throughout a couple months, and so we got this feeling that she was going to gift us something, but we didn't know like what it would be. And this one time when we went, we just had that sense, that feeling that she had something for us because that's who she is. They're very loving and caring, and they reciprocate back to you in ways that you can't even fathom. I mean, just their friendship is just so amazing. And anyway, so we go back to the area where we put the snacks, and we always would take out the trash and put fresh new apples and nuts and chocolate in there. And we're looking around, and we sensed that she had, because she said she had. And so Michael thought to himself, well, it's probably up high. And so I'm putting stuff in. And guess what? You tell them what you saw.
Oh, well, so I was looking around because I guess we had the feeling it was going to happen. I thought she actually had told you she was going to give us something. Isn't that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm looking around because you don't know where it was. I thought I looked in the hole. I looked here. I looked all around, and there was a creek there. We'll look by the creek. Couldn't find anything. So I looked up, and there, way up, it was way up there because it was. I saw it up there, but it was very difficult. I said, "Oh my God, it had to be somebody like that was like
huge,
8, 10 feet tall with arms that would be 4 or 5 feet up." There was no way a human could without having a ladder.
Because Mike had to get a stick.
I had to get a huge stick. I had to find it in the woods and break a branch down and to lift it up there. And this is what she gave us.
This is what she gave us.
Wow.
So, anyways, it was beautiful, and they have. By the way, we just wanted to check. We also did see this type of vine that was close by in the woods, so we knew that it was probably sourced from there. It wasn't somebody that had, but it was so high up. And it was so kind of out of the way, but it was kind of right over the area that we normally leave the food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We felt pretty comfortable. This was a gift from Workshop.
Well, and it was green too. And I don't know if anybody knows about this plant.
Oh yeah, it was green.
It's really hard to bend. Right. And because if you did it with it dry like this, it would be too brittle. Right. So she, it was just something fresh that she'd made for us, and it was just, it was just wonderful. And she left something else for us too, but we weren't quite sure what it was. It was in that little plastic baggie with the 2 little. We weren't sure what that was. No, something else. I think it was food, like strange food because we opened it up and we're like, wow, this is interesting. I think they're great foragers, so they forage for all their roots and all the berries and everything in the ground. And she gave us something, and we didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and we weren't going to eat it, so there you go.
No, we didn't eat it, no. But anyways, that was sweet of her to do that. But anyways, this wreath was, you know, it was huge for us because she. Usually for me, I think as an empath, sometimes you go a little crazy thinking, is it voices in my head that I'm creating? Is it, you know, am I hearing voices? Am I, you know, but when you get validation time and again, and plus too, when you hear a voice, it's not yours, that's in your head. There's no way to describe that. I'm sure many of you listening in can probably, if you're empathic, you probably have that happen. But for me, I can't, that's not validation for other people. I can say, hey, look, that's not my voice that I just heard, but no one else hears it but you. So when Borgia and all these cryptids and all these other beings that I'm in contact with do stuff like this, where they gift us stuff like this, and it's there when they say it's going to be there, that's a phenomenal validation as a researcher, and then also an experiencer too, because I mean, we all need that confirmation that we're not nuts, you know?
Okay, so with that said, not being nuts, we'll go on to something we call Sasquatch Highway. So Sasquatch Highway in Oregon is a piece of highway that is from Estacada to Detroit Lake.
Yeah.
It goes into the Mount Hood National Forest. It's well known, and the reason they call it Sasquatch Highway is because a lot of Sasquatches either side of that road. There's a lot of sightings, a lot of crossings. You can drive down there sometimes. People have driven down, and there's been recorded sightings of them walking across the road. So this area that we live in or close to is considered the per capita the most sightings in the United States. That was one of the reasons.
Wow, you decided to live there.
Yeah. So, anyways, there is a lot of sightings. There's a lot of sightings right down the street from us. I mean, there has been. I don't want to say there's a lot every day, but there has been sightings that were within stone's throw of us. And of course, the state park is close by. The Sasquatch Highway is a ways away. But anyways, we travel on that quite a bit. So a lot of times we go, and there's a lot of campgrounds on either side and areas, trails, basically trails. And so we'll go on these trails. So I'll let Rainbow tell you one of our experiences on the trail that we had, which was a pretty cool experience. So go ahead.
Yeah, it was. Because sometimes Sasquatch will be invisible. They're not going to show themselves to you if they're not too sure. I think the juveniles, the younger ones, won't show either their bodies. Mm-hmm. I think they have this idea that humans are a little dangerous.
Aggressive.
You know,
we are pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm. So even though Michael and I have this intention when we go out that we're friends, I think that they're cautious when they obviously when they see humans. And we were walking a good hour on this path when all of a sudden we could hear something bipedal walking up on a hill, and we could hear branches cracking and leaves crunching, and we could hear something walking, and you know the difference when it's four legs, when it's deer or whatever, because I mean you can it's different. But this was something that was walking actually side by side with us and just walking along. And I said to Michael, because I was behind him, I said, Michael, stop. And he stopped, and because we stopped suddenly, this whatever it was following us took 2 more steps. And Michael says, did you hear that? And I said, well, that's exactly why I told you to stop.
And it was close enough that I believe that if it was a human or anything bipedal, we would have saw it. It was so
It was
close.
so close.
It was
We
so
should have seen
close.
it.
We should have seen it.
Yeah.
So we believe it was a dimensional type Sasquatch
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
walking close to us or behind us and was making quite a bit of noise and didn't seem to care.
No. And
It
so,
just-
yeah.
He didn't care.
Yeah. No.
Or
And
she
so
didn't care. I don't know which was.
I think it was a young male, is what I sensed. And he was just curious. And so, and we walked a little bit further, and then we stopped. And when we stopped, it took 2 more steps. So that was like, okay, there's something is following us. And so we had apples in our backpacks. And so we took that apple and put it in one tree, and then we took another apple and put it somewhere else to let whoever it was. And we believed it was Sasquatch. And that's what I empathically picked up, that we were friends. It was like a friendship, like offering, saying, hello, we're Mike and Rainbow, and here's some apples. He never showed himself. He just wasn't going to do it, but he was curious. And from what I understand is the young ones, they usually won't show themselves. They're curious, but they will stay hidden. And so that, I think that was and the sad thing for me is I always want to see him. You know, I want to I want to make friends, but I don't want to force the issue. And so I think in that circumstance there, from what the feeling that I got when we were walking is that he was probably too far away from the tribe, and that's what they call themselves. They call themselves tribes. And he probably would have gotten in trouble or whatever, but I think he was just a little further away than he was supposed to be, and he was just curious about humans, and so he watches them. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people when they're on a hike and just walking along, and all of a sudden you start feeling that something's watching you, and you can't see it.
Right.
And I think that sometimes, not all the time, it's Sasquatch just observing and seeing what humans are doing.
Yeah, they're very curious, because even a lot of the sightings here in Oregon or anywhere, other people I've talked to, with people car breakdown or something happens, or just sitting meditating or doing something, a Sasquatch will want to just watch what you're doing. They really love that.
Yeah.
And if you know you have one close to your house right now, I mean, you go out there and meditate, or just be in a quiet place, meditate, and eventually, it may take a while, eventually you will probably have contact. Really, I'm serious. You definitely can. No doubt in my mind, you will be able to. So anyways, how much time we have left? I just want to catch in a few more things. Is there, we have some time, or what?
Everything's open for you. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, literally. I'm enjoying every moment, and I think everybody else is too.
Okay, well, we got more. Definitely got more. So let's talk about something. The reason I want to bring this up, it's a little scary subject, okay? But I think it's really important if you go out in the forest and the woods. So what I want to call this little number 5 section of our conversation, we'll call it Creature X, okay? So Creature X is a scary entity. He's real. I really believe he's real, and I'm going to give you a couple examples. I think everybody, what's the name of that movie, the one where
Predator.
Predator. I'm sure everybody's familiar with
Arnold
the movie.
Schwarzenegger.
Right, familiar with the movie Predator. Well, that may not be that far off of truth. Okay, believe it or not, it may not be. Anyways, there is a creature out in the woods, out in the forest, mainly in the forest. They could encounter you some other places, but mainly we're going to talk about national forests right now. And some of you people that live in New Mexico may remember the late J.C. Johnson. Do you remember, anybody remember J.C. Johnson? Okay, J.C. Johnson was a zoologist. And so I never get the name right. So anyways, he came to the forum, the New Mexico UFO Paranormal Forum, a couple times actually, and he has recently passed. And so anyways, he had actually went ahead and on the side after the encounter, JC talked to me about something that was pretty incredible, incredible story he had about a place in Alabama where he was called from the sheriff. And the sheriff had told them that they had an incident there that he needed to come out and see, because JC actually was involved with strange occurrences. Okay. And so, anyways, JC went out to Alabama and went with a Native American, I believe, as the story goes. And these were a story about 3 hunters that were in their blind, their hunting blind, up high. And apparently, I guess what happened, it was horrific. They were all up there. I don't even know, maybe I shouldn't even tell you this, but they all had weapons. They had a lot of weapons and guns up there because they were hunting, right? So when the sheriff was so beside himself, he didn't know what to say. When they climbed up there, they were shredded. They were completely shredded. There was a pile of
The hunters?
shredded. The hunters were all shredded. And to this day, I don't think they ever found out what it was, but he actually believed this was some kind of a creature. That there's been other stories, but this is probably the most horrific story I'd ever heard about this creature. And the reason I'm telling it is I just want to let everybody know there is stuff out there that is not happy. They're super predators. And that's why I always tell people, you go out in the woods, probably don't go alone. You really don't want to go alone.
You should never go alone.
Don't go alone.
No, I asked Loki about what Creature X was, and because Michael said, hey, can you ask him what he thinks it is? And Loki told me Creature X is a hybrid, and it's a hybrid between a Sasquatch and an alien. And he said that it's very dangerous, and he said that they have to be careful because this thing can go at them as well. And I think people don't understand that this Creature X, that it goes after everything and everybody. It's not just humans, it's Sasquatch as well. And Loki had stated that it was some weird type of just experiment, and that there were 3 of these creatures that were let out, and where they hang out is in the forests. And I know that one area that we were living in Utah, that one of these creatures was around that area because I sensed it and I felt it. And Michael had taken me to an area that is real popular where there's caves in Utah. I don't remember where that was. And it was a real popular, you'd gone in the caves.
Oh, yeah.
Salt caves?
No, they were, yeah, I remember where,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where it was. It was just south of where we lived in Sandy, Utah. It was a park, and it had is that the one you're talking about? The one we drove
Yeah,
by?
and we actually, it ended up being a dirt road, and just big enough for 2 cars to go by.
Right.
We were going through this one area, and I was petrified. All of a sudden I got this horrible feeling, and I said, we got to get out of here. And Michael said, there's cars all around. What are you worried about? I said, Michael, we have got to get out of here.
And that was it, because she's never.
She
doesn't do that, because she'll about do anything or go anywhere.
I'm brave.
Or whatever.
I'm telling you, I will go, because I was a cowgirl. I can go out there and do it. But I was petrified even in the car. And so I said, we have to get out. And I asked Loki, I said, was that Creature X? And he said, Creature X was not in that vicinity. He said, but Creature X was somewhere in the mountains. He said, and you got a feeling of what what we feel when it's around.
Right.
Because what he said they have to do is the males have to surround the families to protect them from this thing. And it's not easy, because these things, I don't know what type of alien they
Hybridized it with.
Yes. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah.
Do you think that is the hybrids, are they aliens that are creating the hybrids, or are our folks doing it? I figured it was our folks.
You think it was? Okay.
Yes. Okay. That's what Loki told me. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, not good. I don't know. I don't know if it's good, but I would tell
Yeah.
you, can I just jump in?
Yeah, no, go for it.
I would tell you that, JC's story was pretty horrific, but there has been others that I had heard from people, and some of them were park rangers. I'll tell you one quick interesting story, and it was a kind of a good story in a way. A friend of mine was a scout leader, and they were taking their kids, I think it was in Tennessee. They were taking a bunch of kids over there, and he went to talk to the park ranger about going to a certain area of the park. And the park ranger said, listen, I don't want you to go in that area of the park. We've had some horrific issues in that area. I found out later, I don't know if it was JC or somebody else told me, because I was telling you the story, that in that part of the park, they had found campers that were found up on the top of tall pine trees.
Wow.
And it was horrific. And he said, some reason some of these creatures, maybe it was creature X or whatever, I think it had to be, it was not humans. Let's just make sure it wasn't humans, because the only way he made a comment that the park ranger says the only way that those bodies could have got up there if somebody put them up there with a helicopter. So they don't know how these bodies get in these crazy places. And I'm sure some people that are on there have heard of 411 with David Paulides. He talks about strange things very similar to what I told you. I don't think he knows the story about J.C. Johnson.
He talks more about missing people.
He talks about missing people, but sometimes the bodies are found, right?
Yeah, but they're not mutilated. No,
okay.
It's different. It's different.
Okay. So anyways, but that was kind of, there is something out there, something in the woods, and I don't want to dwell on it, but I just want to let people know.
Should think about that. Yeah.
It's not the dogman. It's something completely different.
No, and one thing though that I want a little caveat here is that Loki told me about giant Sasquatch, but he said they're very, very old. They're archaic. They're very, very old. And he said they have to be very careful of them as well. There's not that many of them. But he also said that the weird twist here is that they in their DNA, they have the history of the earth, and they have the history of Sasquatch. So they're revered by Sasquatch, but these giants can be cannibalistic. And he had told me that when they go to their different camps, that they have to go a certain way because the males have to go and circle around the families as they're going from one camp to another, if they're in the vicinity of where these giants live. And I do think that, and we're talking that Sasquatch that are like up to 17, 20 feet tall. And because that's huge. So I think that they don't have the patience for humans. And I think that what he was telling me is that they stay away from humans. They just really go to really isolated locations where there's just any chance of contact. But he said even they have to be really careful of them. And he said there could be maybe, because there's always that happen chance of communication, some kind of contact, I should say, with these beings. But they do not have the temperament of being nice. And so I'm not saying that is what is possibly what Michael is talking about. What I'm saying is that when people go into the forest, just understand that there are elementals. And yes, the little wee people are out there.
Yeah.
And I believe in fairies. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have a fairy circle all around our house, and we have a fairy garden. And we invite them over. So we believe in everything that has a right to be alive in this dimension. And the ones who pass from dimension to dimensional, those dimensional beings. So I just think that whatever is in the forest, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And one thing also that I want to say is that if people are camping out, just remember you might be camping out in the area where Sasquatch hunts, or another cryptid hunts, or something else is hunting. And if you get that horrific feeling that you shouldn't stay, then you move your camp. Stay.
I think that's you're giving a good global view of things. Because, I don't know if you heard of the case in Pecos where the three guys were hiking together in
No.
Pecos, and then they turned around and their friend was gone, never to be found again.
What is the story?
Well, the three guys, and this wasn't that long ago, maybe 5 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and they were hiking up in Pecos. You know Pecos,
Yeah, sure,
Sure we do.
forest up there, and they turned around because the three were together, and they looked. They were going to say something to their friend, and he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never found, huh?
That fast, he was gone, and they never found him.
Fast. Yeah, the one on the end is usually the one they get too.
Well, actually, according to David Paulides, it's either the one in the front or the back. So
Sorry.
So everybody should be walking tied together.
So it's all in one row,
well,
tied together.
I
Yeah.
think it's called intention. I think that if everybody is aware of their surroundings and you have the same mindset of being conscious of your surroundings, I think that and just in my view, from Michael and I being in locations where, it's been like a little precarious, like kind of like that silence that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You can sense when something's not quite right, or you can sense when something is around. And when you sense all of that, it's really has to do with that empathic sense, your gut feeling, and follow your gut. If you don't follow
humans have that very well developed. Yeah.
So going back real quickly to if you go, let's just say you go into the forest and it's not in a regular campground, okay? And it's, you're just kind of going out. I think that it's really important to when you stop at a point and you ask the universe, is this a good spot?
Yeah.
Think if the Sasquatch or the dogmen or whatever, if they don't, they'll answer and say, no, go over there.
Get out of there.
My house. You go over there. I mean, because I can tell you stories of where I actually on Sandia Mountain. I don't know. No, I'm sorry. This is Mount Lemmon in Arizona.
Oh yeah, I know Mount Lemmon. Yeah.
I was up there and I actually walked into a Sasquatch house. I actually walked into his place. I didn't know it. It was a lean-to. I went in there and there was all this. Well, the reason I knew it because it smelled terrible. It just smelled awful. Because I don't know if you know it, when Sasquatch, for some reason,
yeah, they have a skanky odor.
And they put stuff on top of it, and they keep on building this thing, and I don't know, they don't have toilets, obviously, but anyways, they smell a lot. But anyways, this was because I felt, not only did I smell it and feel it, then all of a sudden I got the realization that I was in their house, and that was pretty frightening, because you just don't go in there because they will come after you then. If you go into their territory. So that's why it's important to ask permission. Always ask permission. So that's what I want to say about that. So we can talk about one more thing if you think we have the time.
Yes.
About Vortex Photography, right? Mm-hmm. And you can talk a little bit.
Tell me about that.
I also want to talk about.
Oh yes.
This.
Oh. Okay. Well, go ahead. Let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, you're gonna. I'm just going to show it to them. You're going to tell them. You got it from Kiwani.
Yeah. So one of our trips, Kiwani kind of drops this on me, comes up with this old plastic bag right here, okay? And he gives me this. And he says, guess what this is?
Oh, look at
it's
that.
Sasquatch. Well, that's what he said.
Sasquatch hair.
So this hair was actually sent to a laboratory in California, and it was analyzed. And of course, it didn't come back saying it was Sasquatch. It came back as unknown. And what that would mean is that it's definitely not a dog. It's not a human.
Not DNA recognizable.
It's non-recognizable. So I guess with that said, it was something that is paranormal. Okay. And this was found I think it was found, I'm trying to think about where it was found. I think it was found in Washington State. And it was found, somebody was walking through the woods and was on a branch. It was quite a bit of hair. This was just, for some reason, I only got a little piece of what it all was, but it feels very soft. It feels very coarse at the same time. And it's really neat feeling. It has a really cool energy too.
Feels like my hair.
Feels like rainbow. It's not her hair, I trust
I'm thinking it might part Sasquatch.
But anyways, he reassured me just recently. Actually, I emailed him again. I asked him again, and I said, "Listen, are you sure?" He said, for the most of his knowledge, this was the real McCoy, and he said that they would never be able to tell you. They would never come back and say it was Sasquatch because they don't know what a Sasquatch. They don't really know, because you'd have to either have a live Sasquatch or you'd have to have a dead Sasquatch to get the comparison, and they didn't have it. So for them to come back and say I'd known, that was like 2 thumbs up as far as I was concerned.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Okay, Vortex Photography. Let's do that, and we'll kind of end on some questions. So I guess over the years, this happened sort of by accident, for the most part. I was talking to a shaman one time. I had some of them that worked for me in Albuquerque, some medicine men. And one of them, we were talking, and I was telling what I did, and you know, I like to do this a little photography and Sasquatch and all that stuff. And he told me, he says, "Do this, Mike." He said, "Go into the woods and take random pictures. Use a digital camera. Do random pictures of the dark areas." Or he said, if you had somebody like Kiwani that dowses, that's even better. Because if you can get it close to a vortex area and take it in that area, it's even more enhanced. Because I've done them in both places. I've done them in the vortex areas, and I've done them in non-vortex areas. And for the most part, it's 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, what happened? So I said, okay, fine. So in one of the little mini expeditions I went with Kiwani, I went ahead and took my camera and I did these snapshots all around. And I kept on doing it. And then I'd go back to the either our tent, or if we were staying in a hotel, I'd go back to the hotel, and then on the digital, you can blow it up and you can look at it and study it and look at it. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. I was getting all kinds of stuff on it. I was getting aliens. I was getting Sasquatch heads. I was getting fairy people. I was getting even the one, I got a lot of them. In fact,
he also gets the rods too.
I get rods, these things that are floating through the earth.
I've seen those, yes.
All kinds of stuff that I wasn't expecting at all. And I've gotten a lot of them on because there was some vortexes on the top of Sandia Mountain. So I got quite a few really interesting. I got a queen, that fairy queen. I got a fairy queen. She was just there. I was under his head, this beautiful fairy queen.
Wow.
There she was, fairy princess, I called her. It was kind of frightening because she was looking right at me and these big, beautiful eyes. She was very beautiful. But I didn't see her when I took it. Only the digital camera brought it out. So if anybody wants to do it, I can't tell you exactly how to get do the dowsing part of it. But if you can just take random pictures of areas that feel really good to you, you may pick up some really interesting things. And other people have tried it and they get it. This camera I got seems to work really good though. And it's just it's an old digital Nike a camera that a friend gave to me, or a relative gave to me actually. Mm-hmm. So anyways, and if you go to our website, True Seeker Forum, that's just the website I still have for 13 years. And if you go in there and put in the search bucket 219,
okay,
what that'll do is that'll get you to a lot of the vortex photography I've taken over the years. But on that particular one, the second photo down is a picture that I took in one of these expeditions where it looks like it's a possible, Rainbow thinks it's a cryptid, but I think it's a Sasquatch sitting on a fence rail. And I took the photo to a park ranger, and he told, this is in the middle of summer, so remember, it's the middle of the summer, it's hot as hell. And he said to me, it's either a human in a fur coat, and we kind of threw that out because it was so dang hot, nowhere, right? Or it was a bear, and he said, no, it's not a bear, because they can't sit on a fence rail. They can't sit on a fence rail, so we threw that out. And he said, well, I said, you think it's a Sasquatch? He said, I think it may be a Sasquatch. So anyways, all I'm saying is people can go to that particular, on the Truth Seeker Forum, and they can look at 219, just put 219 in there and it'll come out. Now you can look at
219. You don't have to put 219 vortex, just the number.
Just put 219 in the search bar. It'll come up to that page. And you can,
Okay.
so, but then if you want to just look at all of the vortex pictures that I've taken over my lifetime, basically, or most of them anyways, I haven't put them all up. You can just put it in your vortex, and that'll give you the whole, every one of the articles about it. And I try to explain what I see. You may not see it. You may see something. I have people,
Maybe something different.
I have people that'll say, hey, I didn't see what you saw, Mike, but I saw this alien, or I saw that one. I saw something else. Really incredible. And some of the stuff, the little fairies, oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're just beautiful little fairies. And so they exist as far as I'm concerned. Because
Oh, yeah. I've seen
the
them.
only thing I can honestly say I haven't got a picture of is a unicorn. I don't think they exist. Now, I think there's some of these, goats or sheep that have this horn that's kind of screwed up and it looks like a unicorn, but I haven't even seen that.
Well, they don't exist because you don't believe in them.
Okay, well, I don't believe in unicorns. But I believe in everything else.
I believe
Everything
in them.
else.
I see them.
She sees them. Anyway, so I think that's probably about it. We're
Wow, we are so lucky. I mean, I'm still sitting on the edge of my seat. I could listen to you all night long. But I'm sure lots of people here would like to ask questions.
Ask far
So
away.
ask away, put it in the chat box. Can you see the chat box?
There's 12 of them or something. I can't. Yeah,
There's
12
about 20 folks here. So put your questions in this little chat box so they can see.
Probably gonna have to put my glasses on.
Is it right there?
Oh, somebody said they caught a rainbow being with their cell phone.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Any questions, guys? Put it in the chat box. This is your chance to ask all the goodies. Have you ever heard of puck wedgies?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. Yes.
We have something in the woods behind me.
Yes, those are the little short. They're about 3 feet tall, maybe a little shorter. From it's more Celtic. Aren't they more Celtic? I know that in New Mexico that I've heard they were in New Mexico as well. And they're just these little beings
Like
in the forest. They're different. They're more more tricksters. They're you got to be a little careful with them, from what I understand. We have them in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They are. Think of them. The way that I view them as, like, little naughty fairy people, but they're not fairies. They're
Well, the fairies can be pretty naughty too.
I know they can, but these are like little wee people, but they like to play games and tricks on people.
Right.
They're the ones that will go into your garden and mess with things in the garden or take things. So
Okay.
yeah. Yes, I've heard of those. Yes.
And someone asked, what does a Sasquatch smell like? I'm gonna offer what I think I smelled in the back of my house, but go ahead. What do they?
You know what? Interesting enough, I think you can have encounters with no smell. Otherwise,
I've never had a bad smell
right.
with the encounters I've had, or with the Dogman Tulak. Now, I did have a bad smell with a skinwalker that was horrendous. But I personally have never had a bad smell, so I couldn't tell you if they smell bad.
Yeah, I haven't either. Even when I told you about the situation I had in the tent where I was, and they were all around, there was no smells at all. I think sometimes they just project that, like it's just kind of a warning system to sort of stay away or whatever. But I haven't. But of course,
I've heard a lot of people say that they smelt them.
Right, they smell them. I mean, like wet dog. I've heard. Things like that, just swampy, very, very nasty kind of smells. Yes, I've heard of that, but all my reasonably close encounters, especially when the one was, had their hand on my shoulder, I had no smell. I didn't smell anything that bothered me anyways, except for the outdoor normal smells. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
So,
I think,
Althea, what did you smell?
It was a little bit like a skanky. Nothing horrible. Just like you said, earthy, really earthy
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, if you're by a muddy area, that's
Right.
it smells a little skanky. But
Yeah.
and then I went down to my kiva. I have a kiva on my property,
Oh,
and
nice.
and then I saw that big foot. I said, "Whoa, look at that big foot." You know, and I took a picture of it, but I think it got a little eroded. Maybe it rained and stuff, and
Yeah, right.
but I could
Exactly.
definitely see the round
Right.
toes on the earth. But I also see a lot of flying, UFO activity.
Oh, yeah.
And last summer in August, I got even the rods, all kinds of things in the back.
Oh,
And
wow.
then in my bedroom, what appeared were I call them the rubber band people. They were black, and they had great big heads. They
Oh,
were
wow.
amputees.
Nice.
The
Huh.
little
Nice.
rubber and there were about 5 of them, and they were all running into each other like a comedy. My bedroom.
Oh, wow.
You
Yeah, they were
froze.
kind of making
We're all
fun.
right. You kind of froze though. The aliens
Yeah.
got you. There. Oh, there you are. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I was moving around, but they weren't. I wasn't afraid of them at all.
No. Fear. You can't have fear in any of this.
No,
So
they felt they were just making fun. They had fun
Yeah.
make it
running
fun.
into each other.
I think
So-
it's cute.
Yeah, they were cute.
So how long did they live?
Oh.
There were several other questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get them. There's other ones here, but we'll try to get as many as you want to ask. I don't know. I think they're very old. My understanding from Kiwani is some of them can be. He considers some of them are like ancient ones, so they're very
The
old,
ancient ones are hundreds and hundreds of years
hundreds of
old.
years old.
I think Loki told me that in his group, they live for anywhere from 300 to 400 years.
Right.
Wow.
Years old.
Yeah.
So, but I think that they do a type of ascension. They don't die. I think that I was shown a place where Sasquatch comes from, and it's very unusual. It was just the topography, everything was very, very different. And that's where my understanding is where they go to. So I know from him particularly that 300 to 400 years old, it could even be more depending on what different types of Sasquatch groups are out there. They're not all the same.
Interesting.
So somebody just asked, how did they multiply? Well, I'm not really too sure. I think they probably have sex like we do, but I'm not going to tell you that for sure because I don't really know.
They have families. They have
Right,
they're beings. They're much more evolved than we are. And they're just think of them as another being that has a family, has loved ones, and they feel pain, they feel sorrow, they feel happiness, they feel love, they feel anger, they get irritated. Everything that you've seen on video, if you've seen anything of maybe there was one video a while back that I saw where there was a really irritated, large, shadowy being. It was supposed to be a Sasquatch. He was irritated. So they're just like we are, except they're more evolved. So let's see here. What does their
houses look like? I think that's what it said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of described the one that I happened to walk into by accident was kind of a lean-to from a standpoint that it was, I'm sure you know what a lean-to is, but it was made out of like sticks. It was up against a bunch of big trees.
Sticks up.
Yeah, they
Like
make it
this.
on one side or
on
the
one
other.
side, yeah.
And it's pretty large. It's large inside. Now, the interesting thing is, for the most part, I really can't say they're 8 foot. I think they would have to bend over if they were in this dimension. They would have to bend over, and everything on the ground was like from pine trees, or was all laid out there, real nice. Real nice, but it did smell quite a bit inside. But again, we got dimensional ones and we got terrestrial ones, so we got kind of two different things here. I can't really say that dimensional ones live in lean-tos. Probably the terrestrial ones do.
Warja would.
Yeah,
That's what they would
right.
do. They go to different camps, and that's just what they build.
Right.
And they get a lot of, when they build their whatever camp they go to, they get they, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people have talked about, when they break the trees, and a lot of people have heard them. When I did logging in Taos years and years ago, and every once in a while you'd hear a break in it and you'd wonder, how could anything break a massive tree? So they break trees and they bend them, and then they take them and they build their homes. And so that's just how they get the roofs where they have the foliage and everything. They get brush, they get everything to make sure that they have some nice home. And I one thing that I heard, because I haven't found one yet, I haven't gone into their home, is that they keep them clean.
So I guess they never live in cities.
No, but they have, when I lived in Tucson, Kiwani did tell me a story. I lived in Tucson, Kiwani at one time had lived in Tucson. He actually said they actually materialized inside of his house. They actually form themselves inside. So they do go inside houses. That is not, because Rainbow had one too at my daughter's house.
Loki came into
the house.
Yeah.
It materialized and dematerialized. I was sleeping right next to her, but I was still sleeping, but Rainbow was fully awake. Yeah. So, and anyway, somebody just asked a question about some are dimensional, multi-dimensions, and some are terrestrial. If you picked up Rainbow's conversation about that, but they're both types. So they do move between dimensions, and that's what Kiwani talks about a lot in his books about the dimensional Sasquatch.
And I think that there's this correlation. I think that obviously Loki brought, there was an issue that Loki had talked about regarding the artificial portals, the tears that are happening on the planet, where different groups are coming through that shouldn't be able to be.
Yes, I know.
And he said that what they have to do is, part of their job is to figure out how to heal those tears, because think of it like on your skin. If you had a deep wound, you'd have to have something, a Band-Aid or whatever, to cover it up. But on the earth, it's even more detrimental because it affects the rotation, he said, because the artificial portals, whenever something's going through, if a Sasquatch is jumping, it affects where they end up. So he was saying that's part of what they have to correct. And so the artificial portals are also another issue that they're having to deal with, and that is a definite problem that's out there as well. And something else too, is a little off topic here, but Loki was telling me that that these artificial portals are a problem, not just for them, but for humans, because this is where there could be an issue of people missing. Because if there's something artificially placed somewhere and someone's hiking or walking,
right,
and they walk into it, he said deer walk into them, birds go into them. He said anything can go into them.
They're gone.
So so they're having to correct that. So I kind of got off topic there, sorry, but there's just so much to remember to say.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh my God.
Do you think that the artificial portals are being created by some of our technology and human activity? There's sort of, they've been playing around. We know that. with,
Well, Loki was telling me that there are alien groups that are not allowed here on this planet, and they can't come through natural portals, because the natural portals are usually on ley lines. Mm-hmm. They're in areas where it's you can feel the light is stretched. He said you feel off kilter, kind of vertigo, and it's just a natural way that where these portals exist. This is a part of them being there. This is how animals know not to go there. It's like, oh, there's a portal there. But it's where Sasquatch knows where the portals are. They know where every natural portal on the planet is. And he was saying that if the specific alien groups that that can't come through the natural portals, that they're the ones creating the artificial portals, that they figured out a way how to slip in. But the problem is once they tear into our realm, it's open. So that point of origin, where is it? So the problem is that once they're here, it's their point of origin. So wherever they come from, whatever they come through, whatever location, that location pulls in whatever the origin is. So something crazy or whatever is from that, wherever they're from, can come through anything that's open and ripped. So it's really, it's not a good thing. And it's affected a lot of, I think that's why we have some crazy, beings, creepy things happening. That's, people are noticing a lot more crazy. There's one being that is like white, and they're, what do they call them, the wraith or whatever. But there's some beings that are being seen now that weren't here before, and I think they crossed over. And I think that's really the danger, is we just don't want those rips there. So
what about the Dracos or Dracos?
Yeah, right, exactly. It looks like there's what does it mean on the bottom? It says 28 in the chat. Does that mean there's 28 questions in there? Is that what it means? I can't see them.
Oh, you can't see the chats. Okay.
No, I can't. Am I supposed to click on it?
Let me see if I can see them. Oh, I just got out of it.
you need to click.
I don't know. I'm going to ask her.
Does Loki still talk to you? That's one of them.
Okay, go ahead, Rainbow.
No. No. Loki told me that I was too scattered.
Oh no.
He did. No, he did. He said he got mad at me. I don't think that he understands getting up at 2 a.m. or pulling off to the side of the road, just getting all this information, that I'm living my own life. I think he was so excited to find somebody to connect,
actually communicate with.
Yeah, he was just all the time. And plus I think also Loki was busy dealing with the artificial portals. Part of his job is to figure out how to resolve them. And he did bring an alien person with him one time to one of the last communications I had with him. He brought some strange alien person with him who was extremely rude and didn't like humans, but this alien person was mathematically amazing and used mathematics that we don't use here on this planet yet. So I think Loki probably has gone off to try to resolve this problem. And I hear from him every once in a blue moon. He'll kind of like touch my mind and let me know he's saying hello. But in regards to being scattered, and he was right, I was at the time, I was really scattered because I was having a lot of other stuff happening at that time. And now would be a good time to get back in contact with me because I'm better. I'm not.
Well, I think he was putting a tremendous amount of demands too. I mean, he really just expected Rainbow just to kind of like be his person or his servant or human. It would have been a great thing, but we have lives here on Earth, and they gotta somehow. I guess he's got to kind of realize that because you were doing other things and you couldn't just stop your life.
Well, I had other alien contact happening at the same time.
True.
That was crazy as heck.
But we won't go into all that.
And yeah, and between that and Loki, it was just more that I could handle. So
next question.
Sorry.
I see. I see one. Are they in every state?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Pretty much everywhere on Earth too.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, and it doesn't have to be in the forest. Don't let everybody kid you. They're in the swamps. They want only place they really want to be is kind of away from as many humans as possible.
Yeah.
So wherever that is, you could probably find a Sasquatch there if you wanted. But they do go in the homes. You can call them in the homes, or they'll just come in like they did with Rainbow. And I've heard other people where they'll just show up. They'll just materialize right in your home or outside.
Or partial they're partially materialized.
Oh, partially
They'll give
materialized.
they'll show a hand, an arm.
Right, a
or a
hammer
foot.
arm. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
they have a good sense of humor.
Yes,
too.
yeah, they do. They definitely do.
And they just sometimes come in your dream state?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, they can do all that and more.
Wow.
Yes.
You know, as you're speaking, I feel something. I have these glass front doors, and something is on the outside of the glass front door.
There's
Actually,
so much watching
it
you.
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
yeah, and actually, they are on the inside, not the outside of the front door.
Wow.
Standing at the door right now.
That's wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
Just wait. After talking to us, you're gonna probably find some really interesting happening.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I
you
mean,
will. You will.
You guys never came to my house here, but it is very interesting back here.
Oh, I'm sure. I wish we could. Maybe when we
Yeah.
come back to New
Yeah,
Mexico.
you'll come and see. Gary told me there's a great big vortex right in the back.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's spaceships
Hey,
that
if
land
anybody
there.
knows it, Gary knows it.
Yeah, Gary, of all the people, he knows where those things are.
He does. He
Really
absolutely
does.
He's great. He's really great. So, any more questions?
Any more questions? Don't let this time go by and miss your opportunity to ask your question. Let's check. Someone was talking about star beings in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Do they lure you sometimes into the woods?
I have to say no. And the reason why I say no is that if something is trying to lure you into the woods, it's an elemental, but not a Sasquatch.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. When I was we were talking about that princess, little princess fairy I was telling you about. I felt that I was being drawn to her.
Yeah.
And that's why I took the picture of that area. That was a random shot I took. I didn't see her again. And I felt like I was drawn towards that area. And luckily, I didn't go there. Now, there's interesting, I have to tell you. I forgot to tell you, and I don't know if I ever told Rainbow this, but there is places on Sandia Mountain that there's fairy mounds.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
my God, I have to go. I drove all the way to Roswell to check it out last weekend, you know, and I had this experience where I was like stretched, you know, like, you know, and then, you know, you go into that sort of buzzy state.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was about, but yeah.
And the fairy mounds, you can actually put your ear. I used to bring a glass. I pull a glass to the mound, and I could hear all kinds of chatter and all kinds of craziness on there.
Wow.
It's really cool. Yeah, I take a regular glass, and you just stick it in your ear just like you would in a wall. You put it onto the fairy mound, and you could hear all these little, almost talking, just little fairies and people kind of talking underneath. It was strange. And I just
some people here who are, do they incarnate sometimes as humans?
Sasquatch you're talking about now?
No, fairies.
Oh
yeah.
Geez,
I have met some people. There's some people here.
And they can put out that to lure people, you know, depending on what it is that their intention is. I think that they can give you the idea that you're talking to a human when it's not a human. Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm. There was a question on here.
What's that?
About how do you know when Sasquatch is friendly or not? And I think I gave a good example of Sasquatch being friendly by communicating with me. But tell them about our friend's experience when he went hunting.
Oh, yes.
And that's how you're going to know when they want you to leave them alone.
Okay. Yeah, this is a great story. So this is a guy that lives down in Eugene. I'm not going to give a name. He lives down in Eugene, and he was a hunter. It's one of these real hunting type guys. But he also seemed to have a strange ability to kind of have Sasquatch come to him. Well, one time he was out there hunting, and it was bow hunting. He wasn't shooting with a gun. He had a bow and arrow.
Good hunter.
He's a good hunter. Apparently, he claims he is anyways, but I think he is.
No, he was. Yeah.
So anyways, he was in there, he's bow hunting. He was with a group of 3 guys, and the other 2 guys went somewhere else. They kind of split up. So he's there and he's hunting. He sees a deer. And I'm not a hunter. I don't even like to think about shooting things. But anyways, I'm going to tell you the story anyways. So he shoots this deer with a bow and arrow and he kills it. It's a huge deer. It's got the horn, the rack on him and the whole thing. So he goes to get his buddies because they're going to have to apparently going to have to drag it somewhere to do whatever they have to do, right? So he goes out and he holler, I guess maybe he raided them or whatever. Anyways, they're coming and he's walking back towards the kill, right? And there, when he gets back, is a Sasquatch. Uh-oh, battery's running low. Okay, hold on 1 second. We may have to, I guess we forgot our battery thing. Rainbow, why don't you run and get a charger?
Tell the story, I'll go get it.
Yeah, I'll tell it. Yeah, I'm sure we're fine for a little bit. Anyways, so he turns around and he walks back and there is a huge Sasquatch. And he said it could have been 10 foot for all he knew. There the Sasquatch had his kill in his arms. And he said that Sasquatch gave out this tremendous roar.
Yeah.
He said it blasted him over, it knocked him completely over and fell on his back. And the Sasquatch just looked at him and just turned around with the kill and just kept on going. And the two guys, not only that, but the two guys saw this whole thing happen. And of course, they took off hightailing it, and he took off too and ran.
He's probably crying like, "Oh, why did you do this?"
Well, the only thing about it is, let me tell you this: he probably took it back and ate it, because they do eat deer. They eat venison. They eat meat. Sasquatch does eat all that.
Okay.
Probably just took it. Now they were probably hunting in his territory, and he just took it. Now he made him. I don't know what he was doing, but he blasted him. He said that vibration was nothing he's ever heard. It was almost like he said if you're standing behind a jet aircraft. It was so powerful that the pressure just almost crushed his chest. It was incredible. So, anyways, that was that story about.
I have to tell you something now.
What's that?
This is really making my hair. A couple years ago, there was a deer on my patio, and it was lying down, and I thought, God, that's a strange thing for a deer to do.
Sure.
You know, usually they're standing, but it looked like somebody had shot it.
Right.
And it was, but then at night it went to the back of my property. Where, uh-oh, I lost you. Oh no. They'll come back. Hold on, folks. Hold on. That's how things are when batteries go, they go. Yeah, the batteries probably ran out, and I've had that happen. And all of a sudden, it's fast. They don't really give you much warning. But just in case they don't get back, I have to tell you that deer, the next day, my tenant went all the way to the back of the property to see if the deer was there. He said there was nothing but bones left. And I'm thinking, what could have consumed a huge deer like that fast? And I didn't realize, I thought they were just fruit and berries kind of creatures. But anyway, I want to screen share their information too. There's Mike. Hey, Mike. Are you able?
Sorry, we plugged in. If you guys are still there, we'll get back on in a minute. We plugged in our thing and it just went blank, completely blank.
We're here waiting for you. We're waiting for you.
Okay, good. We just give us a minute or so, and we'll keep on. Unless you want to. We'll get back on.
Okay. So I didn't realize till this evening that they would actually consume a deer. That's, I have a lot of activity on the back of my property, but now that I know Sandia Mountains also has underground bases, huge, probably the largest in New Mexico, right there, and right under our nose, and I had no idea. I see somebody's talked about Egypt. Maybe it's Tony, the ghouls. There's so many creatures. Here they are.
I've never had that happen before. Plugged in.
Well, that was
So-
fast. You guys got on your feet fast. No, I
Yeah.
was just telling them the deer that went to the back of the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in less than probably 6 hours or 8 hours, that my tenant went to the back and said there was nothing but bones left.
Oh my God.
So
What?
what could have consumed a gigantic deer that fast?
Like how? What was the time frame?
About 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours.
And it was
went
just
to the back.
Literally?
And then he said he went back there to see what happened to the deer. He said, Althea, there's nothing but bones left.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I know. I thought there were fruit berries, kind of I shouldn't call them creatures, beings, but maybe that foot. I may have
I've never, I couldn't really say. I don't think anybody has ever seen a Sasquatch eat and how fast they eat.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't assume. How big was the deer? Was it big?
pretty good sized deer. Yeah.
Well, would it? The only thing that I can think of that I get the sense of is more Dogman than I would be
Yeah.
Sasquatch.
That could be Dogman.
Ah.
Dogman usually they'll usually hunt and then call in their buddies, and they actually hunt for each other. So they don't just hunt. I mean, they are solo, but they actually, there's groups of them that will come together. And
Right.
I know that New Mexico, that we have, I was more aware of the Dogman than I was Sasquatch before I met Michael.
Right. And there was, even on Sandia Mountain, there was
Oh.
other people I ran into that told me about stories that they had seen Dogmen in the same area
Yeah.
running, and they were just amazed at how far they could leap and all this other stuff. So I have no doubt there's Sasquatch up there, there's Dogmen up there, there's fairies. Sandia Mountain's got stuff.
I know. Well, I was just telling them about the underground military bases that are there too.
That's
Yeah.
a whole other.
That's a whole other story.
No, that's a huge.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
have you back. I mean, you guys were so wonderful.
It's got a lot of
just
stuff
love.
going on.
I'm sure everybody here has enjoyed every word you have said tonight, and I want them to be aware of your YouTube's because you're going to be putting things up on your YouTube channel all
Right.
the time, right?
We will. What we typically, once a week,
Every Wednesday.
every Wednesday we usually put a new video up, and and where you can contact us is dimensionalwalking@gmail.com.
So I'm going to put this up. I wrote it out. I'm going to do a screen.
Oh, that's a whole other video.
Yeah, so somebody just put up here about Dulcie. I have 2 videos up about Dulcie on our website.
Yeah.
So go to the website.
Yeah.
Go to
So
the
here.
website. What's that?
Here
Oh,
they-
yeah. Go.
Here's all your info.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, there it
There
is.
we go.
Everything
Yeah.
is on there. You just take that and do it. And what I was going to say is the question that was just there was about Dulcie Underground Base. I just did recently 2 very popular. It seems like a lot of people are really interested in Dulcie. So you can hear all about what I know about Dulcie and what I've done up there on those 2 videos. If you just go to our Dimensional Walking at Paranormal Journey, a Paranormal Journey.
So the YouTube channel.
Dimensional Walking, a Paranormal Journey.
Right.
Okay, there it is.
And the other one has the pictures, the Vortex pictures at truthseekerforum.com.
Okay, that's here.
Right.
I'm so, grateful that you're bringing all of this out for people to just not learn that there's just this, we live in such a complex universe. There's so much there. I hope everybody got this information. The email is dimensionalwalking@gmail.com, and the YouTube channel is Dimensional Walking, a Paranormal Journey. And I put some of those YouTubes on our, private pages. And,
Sure, right.
And the website is Truth Seeker Forum. And that's where we can go to the 219.
No, we're not. What's that? Yeah, if you go on there just to see the picture of the Sasquatch one I took is about 600 yards away. So it's a long shot at best. And somebody just asked the question. We are not on Facebook, and I don't know what the other thing is she showed, but we're not on that. We're gonna probably go on Instagram, but right now we're not doing. I'm not.
We're not tech savvy.
Well,
I understand.
We barely.
Yeah, we
come
do
on.
all right. We do. We got here. We got this far. What the heck? What the heck? What does it say? Instagram. Man, we're going to. We're not on Instagram yet, but we will eventually.
Yeah.
Now that one's more complicated than Facebook for sure.
Oh, is it? Yeah. You know what? Here's the interesting thing. I hate to say this about Facebook, but I used to do a lot of work for the government. I don't want to tell all my little secrets, but I did 2 Olympic Games, and the games I did in Utah and Atlanta, and I worked very closely with FBI agents and other ones, and they told me don't go to Facebook ever. And this was a long time ago, so I did exactly.
I know that they scan it and they look at everything.
Right. They just told me, they just warned me, said, Mike, you know, you did a lot of work for us, did a lot of good stuff. Don't go on Facebook because there was stuff going on, and they just didn't want to. So I just never did, and
People have said that. Yeah, people have, but you know, we're so grateful. Our professional clearers, we have private pages where we put things up and share things with each other, and
Sure.
it's so simple. It's
Right.
really simple, and so it serves its purpose. But
Good.
anything really that you don't want.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
you just stay off. You just don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
especially
you don't use that. You
public
don't use that platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So, anyways, anything else? You can send us all your questions. We'll answer them in private of our Gmail account. If that's private, that's as private as we can
We
get.
love emails.
Yeah, we love the emails because we can go
contact.
back.
Yeah.
So please do it and see us on, and maybe we'll come back sometime and talk.
Oh, I would love if you come back.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm just so happy to see you both. It's been such a long time. I have saved, believe it or not, your emails from 2013. I can pull them up with different guest speakers. Oh, it's just really wonderful. We surely miss you guys here in New Mexico.
Yeah, we miss you too.
But we do come back once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, you have my contact information, and I'd love to take you to the back of my property here.
Come back and then see what's going on back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something going on back there.
Well,
whatever was here is moved back. It's not here.
Back. Yeah.
But there was a presence here, for sure.
Well, one thing I just want to say again is if anybody in your audience or yourself have some interesting encounters in the next couple of weeks, please tell us, because a lot of times when we did shows or I've had conversation with people, it seems to kind of get the juices going out there in the paranormal world. And I'm telling you the truth, people just started having stuff, right, Rainbow? So if they do, I'd really like to know that. It's just a confirmation to me a little bit. I don't know. Yeah.
No, you guys, I'm so grateful to know you both, and thank you for spending your evening with us.
Oh, it was
no
a lot
problem.
of fun.
It was a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun.
Thank
Really,
you.
and you can see everybody saying thank you.
It's a bunch of people.
Thank you all. Thank everybody.
Thank everybody for
you.
listening to us and putting up with Rainbow. I gotta live with her the rest
He's
of the
gonna
night.
live with me, poor guy. Aw.
Gotta give you the silent treatment.
Then we'll get some Sasquatch to come in. Yeah, see, that's how you do it. You get all crazy and then.
Yeah, don't do it my way. It's not a good way.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
lots of love to you both, and thank
Okay.
you so
Love
much.
to you too. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
bye.
Bye.